What's going on, Vikings fans? Welcome in the Vikings Now. I'm your host for today's show, Patrick Siepman. And coming up on today's show, we're going to be talking about Quinnen Williams and the star defensive tackle for the New York Jets. Could he possibly be available in a trade? Then Patrick Quenn actually got linked to the Minnesota Vikings. The Ravens declined his fifth-year option last week, so some teams have been calling about Patrick Quenn, and it turns out the Vikings could be one of those teams. Then we're going to talk about it is Dalvin Cook finally going to be a Miami Dolphin. There's a Dolphins beat reporter that had some interesting words to say that I'll be sharing with you guys. But guys, first, I'm going to ask you guys to hit that subscribe button. We are in a little sub-challenge here with two of the Vikings rivals actually here. So we have a Lions YouTube channel here at Chat Sports. We also have a New Orleans Saints YouTube channel here at Chat Sports. And they challenged us here at Vikings Now, a challenge to see which channel can get to 150 wins first. Let's beat them. We're at 47 right now from this weekend. They got to almost double what we have. So hit that subscribe button if you aren't already. We'll keep you updated, everything about the Minnesota Vikings. Plus, it really helps us out. Let's talk about it. Trading for Quinnen Williams. So the report that came out today was that the New York Jets and Quinnen Williams aren't close to an agreement on a new contract. And this is interesting because Quinnen Williams, obviously one of the better defensive tackles in the NFL. I think he's personally a stud. He's a game wrecker. He can get to the quarterback. He's also just a great run stuffer for the New York Jets. So the fact that they aren't close to an agreement, let's see. Let's talk about it. So talking about the highest paid edges, kind of feeling out how much Quinnen Williams could be paid. Do I think he's going to be up there with the Aaron Donald contract? Probably not. But in terms of Jeffrey Simmons, Daron Payne, I think he could be right around there. I honestly probably expect Quinnen Williams to probably get around $25 million per year. I think he wants a long-term deal, and frankly, in my opinion, I think he deserves it. I think Quinnen Williams, especially when the Vikings played the Jets this past season, I remember we were doing just keys to the game, Jets-Vikings, who do you want to take away on the New York Jets? It was Quinnen Williams. And if in terms of just production over this past season, I mean, his numbers this past year were absolutely phenomenal. I mean, 55 tackles, got 12 tackles for loss, 28 quarterback hits in 16 games, then also getting 12 sacks from the interior defensive line position. I mean, that's pretty special from Quinnen Williams. He is honestly, if we're talking about favorite non-Vikings in the NFL, Quinnen Williams, is up there for me. I mean, if you talk about a favorite type of archetype, type of build in the NFL, for me personally, it's those defensive tackles who can also not only be a great run stuffer, but also be a masterful pass rusher, very similar to Dexter Lawrence. And we've seen Dexter Lawrence dominate Garrett Bradbury in the playoff game when it was Giants-Vikings. I think the reason why I love that sort of archetype of build from the defensive line position is honestly because, if you're talking about just like that type of build and everything, I think that's been the type of build that has dominated the Vikings offensive line so much over the past couple of years, especially with guys like Kenny Clark for the Green Bay Packers. Obviously, when the Bears had Akeem Hicks, those types of players were always my favorite, and they always dominated the Vikings. But let me know, will the Jets trade Quinnen Williams? This is going to be the pinned comment on today's show. So if you guys hit with the new YouTube ad break, sit back, take advantage of it, go answer today's pinned comment. If you think the Jets could possibly be moving off Quinnen Williams, give me a Y for yes or give me an N for no. Personally, I don't think anything really happens here in this Quinnen Williams saga. I just think there's a report coming out because I do think Quinnen Williams wants to get paid like one of the highest paid defensive tackles in the league, and frankly, I think he deserves it. I don't expect the Jets to even come close to letting him walk out that door. But in terms of trade compensation, if you were going to trade for a guy like Quinnen Williams, probably going to have to give up multiple first. He is that good. Those type of archetypes from the defensive line position, they don't come around too often. The pass rush, run stop specialist, don't think anything happens here. Now let's talk about it. Patrick Quenn potentially being linked to the Minnesota Vikings. So obviously the Vikings have a sort of need at the linebacker position. I'll be giving you my thoughts on that here in a second. But a Ravens beat reporter linked the Vikings to Patrick Quenn, and this is what they had to say. He pretty much said, trade Quenn to Minnesota in exchange for a 2024 fourth-round pick. The first trade is pretty simple. The Vikings need the first trade is pretty simple, yes. The Vikings need another playmaker on that defense, but they don't have a third-round pick in 2024, which would have been ideal and fair value for Quenn. So they trade a second-round pick in 2024 in exchange for the veteran linebacker and a fourth-round pick. The Ravens get solid value for a player. they won't be re-signing in all likelihood, and Minnesota makes much-needed move to stay atop of the NFC North. So I kind of agree with Tim Ham here on what he was saying about the Vikings trading for Patrick Quenn. I agree. The Vikings do need another playmaker on defense, but I think he's overlooking the fact that guys like Brian Asamoah and our undrafted free agent Prince, Ivan Pace Jr., I think guys like that are going to flourish, honestly, with Brian Flores. Obviously, you got Jordan Hicks still in here as well, and Troy Reeder, who I think could be good rotational pieces for the Minnesota Vikings. I'm still shocked that Jordan Hicks, frankly, wasn't cut. We've talked about those two young dogs, Brian Asamoah and Ivan Pace Jr. Just let those two cook, let those two develop, or whatever phrase you want to use, because I do think with Brian Flores and kind of the teacher he is, he's going to be able to get those two under his system and kind of sandpaper them off, and I think he's going to turn them into really, really solid linebackers. I'm all in. Brian Asamoah, Ivan Pace Jr., I think they're going to be special at this linebacker group, and if the Vikings would have to give up a second and a fourth for Patrick Quenn, I wouldn't be the biggest fan of it. If it was just a fourth, go ahead, bring him in, see what Patrick Quenn does. He was a first-round talent, but hey, I'm all fine with rolling with the undrafted free agent and the third rounder out of Oklahoma. I think those two are going to be special. But you guys let me know. Do you want to trade for Patrick Quenn? Give me a T for trade or give me a P for pass in the comment section. Let me know. Go down there. Let me know your thoughts. I do know something, though. These Jordan Addison jerseys that are out right now are sweet. Jordan Addison, he is going to be wearing number 3 for the Minnesota Vikings. But if you want to get your Jordan Addison jersey right now, head to chatsports.com/Vikings jersey. Get them before they're gone, because I'll tell you what, there's going to be a lot of fans in US Bank Stadium this upcoming year rocking these Jordan Addison jerseys, and I will be too. Shout out to Chatsports, or shout out to Fanax. Go to chatsports.com/Vikings jersey. Now let's talk about it. The latest around Dalvin Cook, because there's another kind of news tidbit about this. I know we're tired of talking about it. I honestly just hope that nothing even happens about this, and the whole Dalvin Cook situation and saga kind of goes away. But Barry Jackson, he is the #1 beat reporter for the Miami Dolphins. He had some interesting comments on a potential Dalvin Cook trade. He said the Dolphins and Vikings already have discussed a trade for Cook this offseason, but the trade did not happen in part because the sides could not agree on the draft pick compensation that would go to Minnesota, according to a source, which is probably true. I mean, I'm sure the Vikings view Dalvin Cook more highly than other teams. I'm sure most teams think they could get Dalvin Cook for a 4th or a 5th round pick, knowing what this Vikings running back room is looking like. Knowing that the Vikings did spend a 7th round pick this upcoming year on a running back, people are probably assuming the Vikings will probably cut bait with Dalvin Cook sooner than later. So I'm sure there's been disagreements. I'm sure the Vikings would want a 2nd round pick for what they call a top 10 running back, but I'm sure other teams looking at what the Vikings have going on right now are probably thinking, we'll give you a 4th or a 5th, or we'll wait for him to be cut. But I want this to be a split backfield in Minnesota, I want this to be more of a running back by committee, because I love guys like Ty Chandler. I want guys like Kene Wangu, who are so explosive, to get more touches. I still want Alexander Madison to be kind of that thunder compared to somebody else being the lightning a little bit in that backfield. Then also Dwayne McBride, the 7th rounder out of UAB. He is just all real special. I mean, you go watch his highlights. This kid will make you miss. He averaged around 160 yards per game last season at UAB. He was the nation's leading rusher. I want him to get some carries this upcoming year. I just want this to be more of a running back by committee, because I do think the Vikings do have some talent in that backfield. But let me know, how do you feel about the Dalvin Cook situation right now? Honestly, it's kind of getting old to me, but let me know. How do you feel about the Dalvin Cook situation down in the comment section? Do you want it to be over? Do you want him to get traded? Do you want him to stay? Whatever you're feeling about the Cook situation, let me know. Overall, I'm tired of it. I honestly am tired of kind of talking about it, because I honestly don't think anything is going to happen. And it kind of disappoints me, because I do still believe it is time to move on. I do think the Vikings, just kind of where they're going as a franchise, and who Kwesi Adofo-Mensah as a GM, he's more analytical, not really giving up too much money for the running back position. That's just at least what I wouldn't do, and I don't think he wants to do the same either. I still think it is time to move on, but it's going to be interesting to see how this all plays out. And guys, we made it to the end of the video. We call this a skull call here on the channel. Just go ahead, give me a skull down in the comment section. I love seeing the people that watch all the way throughout the video. Makes you a real one here at Chat Sports. And as always, thank you guys so much for watching. We'll keep you updated with the latest news, rumors, whatever it may be around the Minnesota Vikings. So subscribe, stay in the loop. See you guys next time. Skol Vikes.